Increase. Increasing life. Isn't this the meaning of all life, is to increase? I thought we'd do things a little bit differently today. I learn a lot better with pictures and picture books and pop-up books. So I thought this would help to instill some of the principles that Wallace taught back in 1910 when he wrote the book The Science of Getting Rich. So guys, if you haven't read The Science of Getting Rich, 100% of the people that have read and done the things in this book have achieved greatness and achieved riches. So do the things in this book. They're written in 1910. If you've read The Secret, Rhonda Byrne, any of those, this is the original manifestor, Wallace Wattles. The things written in this book couldn't be more true, even though they were written in 1910. This book is made for the people that don't want to fantasize about budgeting, who don't want to, look at all these other things that come with getting wealth and obtaining riches. So we're going to break it down here. I think this is the best way to do it, honestly. So what he talks about in the first couple paragraphs in this book is to get rid of the fact that you need to sacrifice everything in order to obtain riches. Get rid of the fact that there's some kind of deity out there that wants to keep you poor. Okay? That kind of thinking is sinful. We cannot think in scarcity because there's an unlimited amount of abundance for everybody. It's not cornered, the other chapter we just read the other day, it's not cornered by the wealthy 2%. If we think in lack, other things come in like disease and scarcity and all the things that you don't want to. And it's hard to switch that mindset over to just being abundant all the time. Like, how do you always think like that? Well, if you read this book more than once, you can program your subconscious to always think in abundance, to look for the things that are more abundant instead of in lack and poverty and things like that. He's going to talk a lot about thinking in a certain way in the next couple of chapters, but there is a thinking stuff from which all things are formed. And this thinking stuff, man has the power to do that. We're the only people, we're the only things living on the earth that have this kind of stuff that can form things with their mind. We have faculties that no other living thing has. So we need to cherish that. We need to really make things out of this. And if we don't, then we're not doing what God already put inside of us. Does that make sense? And we have to do this in a way where it's not competition. So he says over and over in this book to create and not compete. Because guys, if we compete for everything in life, if we're always in a competition mode, it's not going to ever be enough. I was in competition. I was in sales for 5 years out of my life. And it was always like looking at the leaderboard, like, oh my God, I'm never going to be top salesman. It wasn't good. And yes, people win through competition, but are they really happy? Are they really happy because the next month comes along and now they're reset? Now they have to just constantly be in a competitive mode, always thinking like, oh my God, I have to do way more than the other guy. There's plenty. It's limitless. That's the best thing. Everything is intelligent substance. Every living thing has intelligent substance. And all intelligent substance wants to thrive. It wants to live. It wants to increase, right? That's what life is increase. That's what it's all about. And if you're not increase, there is a going back in everything. So if you're not increasing, you always, and I've said this before, but you have to keep your foot on the gas pedal, even if you're being, what's that called, where you're slowing down, even if you're being lackadaisical about things, you have to keep your foot on the gas pedal. So if you're working from home right now and you really don't feel like working, you have to do things in order to increase yourself. Otherwise, you will go backwards. That's how life works. Okay, so there's a thinking stuff. And when we think about these things, it has to be in abundance for our physical, mental, and spiritual bodies, mind, and soul, right? Because if we don't have all three of these things, one thing is going to fall short. And if we fall short of one thing, that means we're not fully increasing, right? Which is super, I mean, that makes the most sense, because if we're not and I've done this before too, where I've just taken care of my body. I've got a great body, but now my soul isn't unfolding how I wanted it to. I did it at my last job. I did it with sales. So I was constantly living for my mental, so that way I could get more money, and everything else that would fall to the wayside. And people do it for their businesses. They lack health because all they're doing is focusing on the business, making more money in the business. That way I can get all these other things. So what do you guys think of increasing life? I mean, does that make sense to increase life? That's the only thing that we want to accumulate riches for. So to accumulate riches means to have an abundant life. We have to have the things as a full expression of ourselves. So once we eliminate the fact that there is no scarcity, it's limitless. There is millions and billions of dollars of gold still in the mountains of the world. And once that were to run out, the thinking stuff would bring us more gold, right? That's why thinking, as global warming is a dangerous thought, because it's thinking like the world is going to end, there's not enough. And yes, we should be going to the greener part and working with nature and things like that. But, it's thinking in scarcity. And for my budgeters, I'm a budgeter, but I always budget like I'm going to make more money at the end of the month. So I always budget more money. So you have to always increase. If you're not making more money, then why are you doing what you do? You have to constantly be making more money. And we have to do it in a creative state. So once we plant this thinking stuff, just like in nature, we have to accept the fact that nature wants to give us all the things that it provides. We have to remove the fact that there isn't anybody out there that doesn't want us to have the things. We don't have to do it in a cheating way. We don't have to rip people off to get to where we want to, right? We don't have to rip people off. It's 2020. Why would we have to rip people off to get riches, to get wealth, to get where we want to go? There's so much. There's plenty of room at the top, as people say. So once we plant this in, just like an acorn, this is supposed to be an acorn here. Did a great job. Once the acorn's planted in the ground, its inherent need is to grow, just like the human conscious, just like being physically and mentally and spiritually growing. It's increase. We have to remove that from ourselves, that we're not increasing. Okay. This intelligent substance wants us to grow. God, or the intelligent substance, wants us to see the beautiful things. He wants us to live lavishly, right? He wants us to live like he intended us to live. What I want, there's a saying in the book, it says, what I want for me, I want for everyone else, right? So we don't have to get the things that we want by ripping people off, or by in lack. We don't have to give them less, because if we go out and look for, if we're looking for a place to build a home, and we see this place and we have to rush to get this place, there's going to be a new place even if you don't get that place, right? They've made plenty of dream cars. They've made plenty of dream houses. You can recreate anything. And this is a really big one too, guys. What I try to tell people is when you're starting something, or if you have started something already, think of things in a creative mode, like, well, this person's already done it, so why would I go out and do it the same way that they're doing it. They didn't do it the same way. They didn't originate that thought. It came from somebody else. So if you think of things like, I'm looking at a Chevy right now. Well, where did Chevy come from? Chevy came from Ford. So if Chevy copied Ford, you see what I'm saying? There's thousands of vehicles out there that came from Ford's original substance, from his thinking stuff. So you can copy people. You just have to shift it and make it yours. I think it's so important to know because everything is copied. Right now I'm on the internet, right? People have talked about the science of getting rich before. There's enough for everybody to talk about increase. So I hope this is super helpful, guys. You have been lovely. If you have any questions or would like to download the book, the link is right there. I'll provide it in the comments. Otherwise, let me know what you think about increasing life. Let me know where you're coming from, since this is worldwide and we have a mastermind group here. And if you are working from home, or if you have a business that you're doing right now, share that in the comments, share that in there so we can all help each other out, because this is a mastermind group. And once we help each other out, we can all increase, right? All right. Have a good rest of your week. I will talk to you soon.